They think I'm finished. He said he's gonna retire me. I took that personal. Bellator, y'all don't know what y'all messing with. I'm a monster. I'm taking everybody out. Anybody that's in this cage, they going to sleep. You next.
In today's video, we will be talking about one of the top light heavyweight fighters of the 2000s, Quinton Rampage Jackson. Jackson is known to be one of the men to usher the trend of MMA amongst the masses. Apart from being a top fighter, Jackson is also one of the best personalities in the sport due to his eccentric nature.
Chuck belly.
Chuck, how old is your Chuck?
He made his name by becoming champion in several fight promotions such as the UFC, Bellator, and Pride. So what were the key moments in Jackson's brilliant MMA career? And why doesn't Rampage want to be inducted in the UFC Hall of Fame? Let's dive into the video.
The Pride Days.
Rampage at the start pursued a career in wrestling at high school with his friend Jacob Noe, who like Jackson went on to become a light heavyweight in MMA. But rather than taking the step into professional wrestling, Jackson would start training full-time for MMA. He would initially compete in several fight promotions such as the King of the Cage, Gladiator Challenge, and Danger Zone. After gaining some exposure in MMA, Jackson joined Pride FC in 2001, where he faced Sakuraba in his debut. It turned out to be a tough outing for Rampage, as he wasn't able to take control of the fight when presented with it. Both fighters were engaged in clinch positions, with Rampage getting in trouble due to his opponent's slick submission game. There was a moment where Rampage was caught in an armbar, but he lifted his opponent and slammed him powerfully on the ground. That would go on to be an important skill set in Rampage's game going ahead in his career. He went on to lose the match via rear naked choke from Sakuraba, but Rampage had shown he had the power in him to dominate opponents and earn the respect of the Japanese fans for his brave performance.
Jackson, an unbelievable show of heart by Jackson coming in. No one gave him a chance against Sakuraba, but he came in with his heart and he came in to fight.
Jackson would have a stop-start beginning to his career filled with wins and losses. He finally got some much-needed momentum when he managed to beat the likes of Masaki Satake and the great Kevin Randleman. In his fight against Satake, Rampage displayed his brute strength and body lock positions, where he attacked the body of Satake with some strong punches and made it difficult for his opponent to get out of it. Rampage ultimately finished the fight with a powerful body slam from the back, from which his opponent was not able to get back up from. On the contrary, in his win over Randleman, Rampage showed he was a strong puncher as he dropped him with a strong right hook and finished him with some heavy ground and pound. After a few wins, Rampage would compete in a K1 kickboxing match. His opponent, Cyril Abidi, was a decent kickboxer, and many believed that Rampage wouldn't stand a chance against him. But Rampage shocked the world when he defeated the experienced kickboxer by knocking him out with a strong right hand to the chin in the first round. His opponent, Abidi, didn't take the defeat nicely and said that Rampage's victory was a fluke. In order to settle that debate, the pair fought again for the second time, and this time, Rampage put an end to such notions by defeating his opponent via unanimous decision. On his return to Pride, Jackson had his sights set on capturing the Pride middleweight championship from the then champion Wanderlei Silva. He would compete in a tournament for the title, where after a few victories, he would meet Chuck Liddell in the semifinals. Jackson, the less favored to win that fight, put on a brilliant display of striking and wrestling as he caught Liddell with some powerful hooks, which dropped him on several occasions. He ruthlessly started beating Liddell with some heavy punches and kicks to the body until Liddell's corner threw in the towel. Jackson would put himself in title contention after that victory and would go on to face the champion, Wanderlei Silva, at the Pride 2003 Middleweight Grand Prix. The fight started with both Rampage and Silva trying to assert control. There were moments where Rampage connected with some clean shots, but Silva stunned Jackson with a kick to the face, after he poured a succession of heavy knees to the head until Rampage was knocked out. Rampage, however, wasn't deterred by that defeat and was right back into the title frame with a few victories. In his second fight against Silva, Rampage started on the front foot and was having more success in taking down Silva and beating him on the ground. But in the later rounds, Silva managed to escape from the clutches of Jackson and land a knee to the face of Jackson, after which, in similar fashion to the first fight, Silva caught hold of Jackson and finished him with multiple knee strikes to the head to retain his belt. After this loss, Jackson would face the brothers from Brazil, Ninja Rua and Shogun Rua. Rampage would earn a split decision win over Ninja, but in his fight against Shogun, he was finished in the first round of the fight. Jackson ended off his career in Pride beating Hirotaka Yokoi and Yoon Dong-sik. After those wins, he would join the UFC.
The UFC Journey.
By this time, Rampage had become a big name in MMA due to his exploits in Pride. That led to him signing for the UFC, as part of the UFC acquiring the World Fighting Alliance, of which Rampage was a part of. In his debut, Rampage would face Marvin Eastman, to whom he had lost to at the start of his career. He impressed in his debut by landing a powerful uppercut which knocked out Eastman in the second round of the fight. Largely due to Jackson's status in MMA, he was given a title shot in his second fight against the light heavyweight champion Chuck Liddell at UFC 71. Rampage once again proved to be the better fighter in their second meeting, as he caught Liddell with a counter right hook that dropped the champion on the floor and finished with some punches on the ground in the first round to become the UFC light heavyweight champion. He would defend his title by defeating Dan Henderson at UFC 75 via unanimous decision, after which he became the coach of the 7th season of the Tough Series.
Did you smell that guy? His smell probably had something to do with that knockout. For real. That's probably what it was.
Team Rampage went against fellow fighter Forrest Griffin's team, where fans got to see Rampage up close. Both fighters met at the end of the season for the fight for the title at UFC 86. The fight started with Rampage waiting for the finish, whereas Griffin had compromised the movement of Rampage by delivering brutal leg kicks. By the 4th and 5th round, Rampage was relying on that one blow that would finish Griffin, but that didn't happen, as Griffin smartly saw off the rest of the fight, which earned him a unanimous decision win, hence becoming the new light heavyweight champion. After losing the title, Rampage would face former opponent Wanderlei Silva at UFC 92, where he finally defeated the man by finishing him with a powerful right hand, following it up with some punches to the ground. The victory was huge for Rampage in his bid to get back to title contention. He was slated to face the champion Rashad Evans, but due to injury issues, had to wait out for the winner between Rashad and Lyoto Machida, which was for the light heavyweight strap. After missing out on action for over 5 months, Jackson was expected to make his return against Rashad at UFC 114, but told the media that it would be his last fight in the organization, citing maltreatment from the UFC. Before the fight, the animosity between both fighters was already stoked because of the Tough Series, where both Rampage and Rashad were coaches of the respective teams.
You don't believe that. You don't believe that, do you?
I know it. I'm gonna beat the brakes off.
Let me tell you why you ain't gonna happen. You too slow.
The fight started with Rashad controlling the early exchanges of the fight, whereas also catching him with some early shots. Rampage was largely ineffective, but he almost had the chance to finish Rashad in the last round, where an uppercut floored him, but couldn't capitalize as Rashad was quick to recover. Rashad went on to win that fight via judge's decision, thus derailing Rampage's comeback. Rampage would leave the UFC for a while, but very soon make a return and sign a new 6-fight contract. He would face former light heavyweight champion Lyoto Machida and win via split decision to put himself again in a position to fight for the title. Rampage was a big name in combat sports, so the UFC didn't hesitate to grant him his title shot against marauding champion John Jones, who was the hot shot of the UFC at the time. They faced each other at UFC 135. Rampage had a hard time dealing with Jones, as the champion was making use of his long reach to good effect. Jones just turned out to be too good for Rampage on the night and finished him in the 4th round via rear naked choke. This was the first time Rampage was finished in his UFC career and most probably his last shot at the title. He finished his UFC career with losses to Ryan Bader and the current light heavyweight champion Glover Teixeira. Nevertheless, Rampage was entertainment value every time he had the microphone, and also with his strong physical attributes that made him a champion inside the octagon. Now, time for a fun fact. Rampage made the most of his star-studded status in MMA by appearing in several movies and TV shows such as The A-Team and Duel of Legends. He has also appeared in commercials for Nike and WWE's Monday Night Raw in the past. Now, back to the video.
Bellator stint and doesn't care about being inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame.
In 2013, Rampage signed a contract to fight in Bellator. He made his debut at Bellator 108 against Joey Beltran, whom he defeated via knockout in the first round of the fight with a left hook along with some ground and pound. Jackson would earn victories over Christian Mpumbu and Muhammad Lawal to win the light heavyweight tournament. There were talks of Rampage making a comeback in the UFC, But that didn't come to fruition, as Bellator stated that Rampage hasn't honored his contract, due to which he can't compete for the UFC. He returned to Bellator in the heavyweight division, with some victories under his belt, and faced fellow legends such as Chael Sonnen and Fedor Emelianenko. Against Sonnen, he lost via unanimous decision, whereas in his final fight against Fedor, he was knocked out in the first round with a strong right from the Russian. That proved to be the end of Rampage's brilliant career. But he is one of those MMA stars who enjoys a lot of popularity in the pro wrestling world, as well as the movie business. In 2013, he appeared in TNA for a few shows alongside Kurt Angle, and also made his in-ring debut by featuring in a tag team match. Rampage recently made an appearance at the Triller Fight Club boxing card, where he was asked about him being a future Hall of Famer, to which Jackson replied, "I say, honor me with the fucking check. MMA fighters, we're not baseball players, we're not like football players. We don't get no pension or nothing like that. Those guys get in the Hall of Fame, they got pensions and all that shit. Honor me with the check. I got a lot of injuries and pain from making the UFC a lot of money and selling a lot of pay-per-views, selling a lot of tickets. What do I give a fuck about being in the Hall of Fame? To be famous? I didn't fight to be famous." There are talks about Rampage making his return through a boxing match against Shannon Briggs, and fans would love to see Jackson back at it with his hilarious interviews and press conferences, providing the entertainment factor every time he speaks on the microphone. And by this, we have come to the end of our video today, and would like to know your views and comments on Rampage's career and favorite moments. Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to share, like, and subscribe to our channel. Until next time.